Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into the wild story of Indian real estate. Seriously, it's a journey that goes from a past filled with gangsters and black money all the way to a tech-driven, multi-trillion-dollar future.
All right, let's just start with this quote because it says everything. That's a veteran developer, Niranjan Hiranandani, talking about the old days. Think about that for a second. Getting into the property business meant you were probably dealing with the underworld, a very different kind of business partner.
So what did this notorious era actually look like for the people on the ground? You know, for the builders trying to build and the regular folks just trying to buy a home.
It was basically the Wild West. No credibility, no formal structures. Hirandani himself talks about having to borrow money from private lenders at an insane 2% interest per month. Not per year, per month. That's what you had to do just to get a project started because no bank would even think about touching the sector.
Now, this wasn't just a problem for the big guys, the developers. For the average person, there was a much more personal hurdle you had to get over, and that was the broker.
So check this out, 45,000 rupees. In 2007, this is what Saurabh Garg, who would later co-found NoBroker, had to pay a broker in Mumbai. And the crazy part, he wasn't even earning a salary at the time.
And you know how some of the best ideas come from just pure frustration? Well, this was one of them. That one painful payment sparked a billion-dollar idea. But, as you can imagine, trying to disrupt a powerful and completely unregulated industry was never going to be easy.
And when I say it wasn't easy, I mean, it got physical. The resistance was real and it was intense. In the early days, a mob of angry brokers literally stormed their office and started attacking people. That tells you everything you need to know about the kind of cartel they were up against.
You know, something had to give, right? A market that chaotic just isn't sustainable. And that's when a couple of huge shifts started to happen that really began to clean things up.
And if you want to pinpoint the moment everything really started to change, it's 2016. That's when the government brought in RERA, the Real Estate Regulatory Act. And this was a total game changer, especially for protecting a home buyer's money.
So what does RERA actually do? Well, think of it like this. It put a lock on your money. It meant a developer had to put 70% of the money you paid them into a special, separate bank account, and they could only use that money to build your project. No more taking your cash and using it for something else. And the results? A massive flight to quality. Basically, buyers said, okay, I'm done taking chances. I'm going to pay a little extra to go with a big, trusted brand that I know will actually deliver my home. So trustworthy builders saw their stocks soar, and a lot of the shady players got pushed out of the market.
But here's the thing you have to understand. Even in this new, more organized market, there's no such thing as one Indian real estate. What a buyer wants in Mumbai is completely different from what a buyer wants in Bangalore or Delhi. They're like three different worlds.
And the differences are just wild. In Mumbai, location is king. You'll happily cram your life into a tiny apartment if it means you're in the right spot. Go to Bangalore, and it's the total opposite. People move way out to the suburbs because they want more space. And then you have the Delhi NCR region, which is a whole other beast. It's often a speculative market, where people buy with a small deposit hoping to flip the property for a quick profit.
Okay, so what if you're hearing all this and thinking, I'd love to get a piece of that action, but I can't exactly afford a whole apartment in Mumbai. What do? Right. How do you get to invest in one of those huge, shiny office buildings you see downtown without, having to buy the entire thing yourself? Well, the market has come up with some pretty cool answers.
So one of the most popular answers is something called a REIT. The easiest way to think about it is it's just like buying a stock. But instead of investing in a tech company, you're buying a tiny piece of a huge portfolio of buildings that are all generating rent.
And then there's this other really interesting trend called fractional ownership. It's a bit different. Here, you're literally teaming up with a bunch of other people to co-own a specific physical property. It gives you that touch and feel of ownership, but for a fraction of the price.
So, where does all of this go from here? Well, you have to remember, real estate is a massive deal in India. After agriculture, it employs more people than any other sector. And the industry has set its sights on an absolutely gigantic goal.
The vision is for India's real estate sector to become a $5 trillion industry by the year 2047.
And just to give you a sense of how enormous that number really is, look at where the market is today compared to that 2047 goal. To get there, the industry needs to grow by about 12%, not just for 1 year, but every single year for over 2 decades. That is a huge, huge climb.
So, is that even possible?
Well, people inside the industry are pretty confident. And their logic comes down to something very simple and very true. You can't make any more land.
And that really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? This incredible, multi-trillion-dollar dream is being built as we speak. But the real challenge will be making sure that the foundation is solid enough, not just for the big players, but for everyone.